Christmas. Christmas. The most magical time of year.
Tell me we will find the perfect Christmas tree.
It's Christmas. Christmas is all about forgiveness and family and tradition.
Santa, lots of kids are depending on tonight going off without a hit.
But in Bailey Downs this Christmas, it's different.
Exactly 1 year ago, last Christmas Eve, the school was the scene of an unimaginable crime.
A Christmas horror story. Okay, so this movie falls into the anthology base, which if you don't know what anthology movies are, usually they're like one movie that has like 2, 3, or however many segments in it, which is the one that this falls into. But you also have like what I think like they're trying to do, like possibly what I would like for them to do if they continue a Halloween series, where it is Halloween as something like whatever, but then the next Halloween movie is a completely different story. There's that kind of anthology thing. But in this case, it's one movie with like 3, 4, 5 segments in it. And this one, the wraparound story is the plot of this one is a kind of a festive, I would say, a radio host played by William Shatner of all people, who I'll get it out of the way real quick. He is hilarious. He's hilarious in this movie. He is the one that's kind of not really telling the stories, but more or less like setting them up in a way, like interweaving the stories, kind of like what like the Crypt Keeper did in like Tales from the Crypt. He was the one introducing the stories, and then they let the stories play out, and then he'd be at the very end. Well, with this one, it's different. It keeps cutting from story to story. So you're kind of going like, okay, so you're getting a piece of this story here. Next is going to be a piece of this other story that comes here. And then the next after that, it's, the third, it's part of the third. And then finally that first story, another piece, the continuation will come after that. So it's one of those things. So it feels like it's edited as one movie, as like one flowing film, but at the same time, it's not. So you're kind of going like, okay, there's these characters. Now you're getting totally different characters in the next scene. And then you're getting totally different characters in the next scene after that. And then you come back to those other characters and you're just like, whoa, what's happening? But then you put the pieces together and go like, oh, it's just interweaving like this. Got it. So this movie has, I believe, 3 stories. And it is like there's one story where it's a family that brings home a Christmas tree, but it ends up being more than that. A bunch of students are making a documentary, but it ends up turning out to be pretty much, I would say, a nightmare. And then a Christmas spirit known as Krampus or Krampus, whatever way you want to say it, then unleashes something at Santa's workshop, which then turns all of his elves into zombies. So then Santa is just fighting off zombies. So it's they're all interweaving with each other, but at the same time they're not. The only thing that's interweaving with one another is William Shatner's radio host character. That's the only thing. Everything else, like all these stories, like they don't fit with one another. It's not like that movie, was it Book of Bloods or Books of Blood, where it's actually all happening like relatively at the same time, even though it's like 3 different stories. They're all happening pretty much at the same time. This, not really. There's some parts in here that are kind of happening at the same time, but you kind of forget that. So I have family members that absolutely adore this movie. Me, I'm middle of the road. I'm just middle of the road. Mainly because anthology movies, while I like a lot of anthology movies, like the VHS series or even like the Twilight Zone TV series, a lot of anthology stuff can be very hit and miss, and this is one of them. And the main issue that I've had with this one is I was liking the stories they were doing. Some of the characters I'm just like, I don't care about you. I don't care. But that relatively happens a lot in anthology stuff where you're just like, I don't care for these characters, but then something happens and you're just like, okay, that's fine. But with this, I was liking the stories they were doing. I was liking the progression of the stories as they were going. But then the third acts of these stories happened, and I just went, that's kind of weak. Like, okay, that's a little bit weak. Like, I don't quite get that. Like for example, the student documentary team, they're just in this place where it's like, okay, you guys really aren't trying to escape, but you guys are just kind of dumb anyway, so all right, what's going on here? And then the third act is kind of revealed, and it's like, oh really, you guys are doing this? I'm like, okay. And even the Santa one, the Santa one where he's just massacring zombie elves, which was entertaining, and especially the movie is very gory and very bloody, and I'll give it points for that because I do like the gore. But the third act, when it happens, you're kind of like going, oh, here we go, like this is the fight, like this is the big thing, this is what we kind of were waiting for. And then it starts to happen, but then it throws kind of a curveball that I'm like, wait, what? Like, oh, that's I didn't really like that. So I don't know. This kind of goes into like, middle of the road for me, where I was liking things, and then when it came to the third acts for those, it just was a huge letdown. And I was just like, you would have been better off if you didn't do that, and if you just kind of didn't really try to throw a curveball, and just kind of threw like a straight ball. Like you're just throwing God, I bad at baseball terminology. Throwing a fastball where it hits you so fast, you're like, whoa, okay, that was really fast. That hit me really hard. I wasn't expecting that. Instead, it's trying to you look at a pitcher throws you a ball and it starts going straight, but then all of a sudden does like corkscrews, so it becomes a screwball, and you're just like, oh, what's happening? It's going all over the place. It feels like that to me, where it's like it's going a certain path, and then it completely changes itself up and just goes scatterbrained. That's how it feels to me, and I don't know, it just didn't really work for me. But like I said, my favorite actor in the movie and my favorite character in the movie, it's William Shatner's radio host character, because over the course of the movie, he slowly becomes more drunk because he's drinking a little bit more. Or his character is. I would have really liked it if William Shatner put on the method acting hat and was actually showing up drunk. That would have been an amazing movie. But then one of my favorite things is like when the credits are rolling, there's like it felt like almost like outtakes, but it was like alternate cuts, like alternate takes of different dialogues, and every time I was just laughing at it. And so then at the end of it, he just takes his mug, or like I think he has like a glass full of alcohol, and just looks straight at the camera and just says, "Cheers, everybody," like whatever. And I started, that made me really laugh. And so it's just every scene with him in it, he's barely in the movie because it's more focused on the segments, of course, because mythology. But he was kind of I think if you took him out the movie would have been really lost for a lot of it. So personally, to me, this would... I'm caught between fine and average because, you know, average, I was actually liking the stories. I was liking what they were doing. But then when they tried throwing curveballs at me, I was going, nope, I'm not swinging at that. You know, I see what you're doing. I'm not swinging at that. So whatever. So which then kind of goes it back down to fine. But I think at the end of the day, it gets an average because I did like a lot of stuff in the movie, like previously said, like what the stories were doing. William Shatner, I think was the star on top for this movie, and also the gore. The movie is pretty gory in each segment. It's pretty gory, so I'll give it that. So I'm like, okay, cool. So, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think if you watch this movie, you know, with like a bunch of buddies and, you know, just, you know, like a couple beers and, you know, just sit and just watch. I think you'll get a kick out of it. So I don't think the movie is a complete failure, but to me, it's like you know, whatever. I saw it. Don't really need to watch it again.
The atmosphere here in Bailey Downs was